Okay, let's just jump right in. I have a question for you. If you had to name the healthiest, most ideal state for a business to be in, what would you say?
Oh, that's easy. That's the first thing they teach you. It's a fiercely competitive market. Survival of the fittest. That's what capitalism is built on. It forces companies to get better. It keeps prices low for us, the consumers, and it weeds out the weaker players. That's a healthy economy.
And that is the perfect textbook answer. And according to Peter Thiel, that thinking is exactly why most companies fail.
What?
Competition isn't healthy. He says competition is for losers.
Yeah.
If you were in a competition, you're already dying.
Wait, hold on. Competition is for losers. That's the opposite of everything I've ever learned. So the goal is to not have competition, to be a monopoly. But isn't competition healthy? That's what they taught us in school.
It is what they taught us.
Huh?
And that's why today we are diving deep into Peter Thiel's controversial manifesto, 0 to 1. Our mission is pretty simple, actually. We're going to burn your MBA textbooks, and we're going to do it with simple analogies to prove that the only path to real success is to create a monopoly by thinking in a way almost nobody does.
Well, that's a bold claim. So before we can even, start tearing down an idea as big as competition, we have to get Thiel's basic framework down, how he sees progress itself.
Exactly. He says it happens in two ways. First, there's what he calls horizontal progress. That's going from 1 to n.
So just copying things that already work.
Yes, exactly. Taking something that exists and just making more of it. The big word for that on a global scale is globalization.
Right. China, for the last few decades, has been the perfect example.
Right.
Replicating infrastructure, technology, factories that were, invented in the West 50 years ago. It's expanding on a known model.
But then you have the second kind, the kind that really matters, vertical progress. That's going from 0 to 1, doing something completely, utterly new. The macro word for that is technology.
Okay, let's use a simple analogy here to really lock this in for everyone listening. The Feynman constraint.
Let's do it. Imagine I hand you a typewriter, an old school typewriter. If I ask you to build 100 more, just like it, you've achieved horizontal progress, 1 to n.
You've just copied it. Globalization.
But if you take that typewriter and you look at it and you invent a word processor, something totally new that changes how we write, edit, and share.
That's vertical progress. That's 0 to 1.
And Thiel's whole point is that our future depends on this 0 to 1 thinking. Because, think about it. If a country like China just copies U.S. consumption habits with existing tech, we're headed for an environmental disaster. Globalization without new technology doesn't work.
Okay, so we need to go 0 to 1. I'm with you so far. But that brings me back to my point. If everyone is trying to innovate to go 0 to 1, and then their ideas are immediately competed with, doesn't that make things better for all of us? Faster? Cheaper?
It makes things faster, sure, but it absolutely destroys the value for the person who created it. Economists love to talk about perfect competition, but they forget the end result of that theory. Profit goes to 0. You spend all your money, all your energy, just fighting your rivals on price, on tiny little features. You create something new, but you capture none of the value.
So when Thiel says monopoly, he doesn't mean the old school, railroad baron who got the government to outlaw all his competitors?
No, not at all. He means a company that is so good at what it does, that solves such a unique problem that no one else can even offer a close substitute.
That uniqueness is the monopoly.
And that's the goal. Let's use an analogy. Let's compare a super competitive market like opening a restaurant with a monopoly like, say, Google.
Okay, so the pizza place. You open up a new South Indian restaurant in Palo Alto. You are instantly at war.
A total war zone.
You're not just fighting other Indian restaurants, you're fighting the Thai place, the burger joint, the pizza place. Your margins are razor thin. You're spending all your time worrying about Yelp reviews and trying to convince people your great-grandmother's non-recipe is worth an extra 50 cents.
And it's incredibly hard work. But it creates almost no lasting value. Most restaurants fail. They just get eaten alive by the competition. And we see this on a huge scale, too. Look at the airline industry.
Oh, the stats on this are just shocking. They create hundreds of billions of dollars in value, right? They move millions of people. It's a modern miracle.
It is.
But because they're all just competing on ticket price, they capture almost none of it. I think I read the average profit per passenger trip was something like 37 cents.
37 cents. They create all that value, and competition just sucks it all away. Now, compare that to Google.
In search, they're a total monopoly.
That went 0 to 1. And while they might create less total economic value than all the airlines combined, they capture something like 21% of their revenue as profit, 100 times more than the airlines.
And that profit, that freedom from competition, is what lets them work on crazy 0 to 1 projects. Self-driving cars,
Yeah.
quantum computing.
Exactly. The airlines are competing, so they're stuck. Google is a monopoly, so they're free to build the future.
It all leads to this amazing line he has where he flips Tolstoy.
Oh, it's brilliant. Tolstoy said, all happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way.
Right. But Thiel says for business, it's the complete opposite.
All happy companies are different. Each one earns a monopoly by solving a unique problem. All failed companies are the same. They failed to escape competition.
That is just a brutal, perfect summary. It basically says if your strategy is to be just a little bit better than the guy next to you, you've already lost. But, okay, let me push back a bit. Doesn't being a monopoly, like Google, just paint a giant target on your back for regulators?
It does, and that's why there's this funny game they play. If you're in a brutal competition, like a restaurant, you lie and say, oh, we're totally unique. No one has our grandmother's recipe.
Yeah.
You try to sound like a monopoly.
But if you're a real monopoly like Google...
You do the opposite. You lie and say you're in a brutally competitive market. Google doesn't say we own search. They say we're a tiny player in the massive global advertising market, competing with TV, newspapers, billboards. It's a way to hide their power.
That focus, that need to dominate one specific thing, flies in the face of another piece of advice we always get. Diversification. You know, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
The ultimate safety mantra. And it makes sense if you think the world is, a nice, neat bell curve. But the real world, especially in tech and startups, doesn't work like that. It follows a different kind of math.
The power law.
The power law. And the implication is just staggering. It means a very small number of things account for the overwhelming majority of the results. In venture capital, for example, the single best investment in a fund often returns more than all the other investments combined.
Think about that for a second. More than all the others combined.
So if you have a fund with 20 companies, and just one of them is, say, the next Facebook, it doesn't matter if the other 19 go to zero. That one winner pays for everything and generates all the profit. That math just destroys the idea of diversification as a winning strategy.
So the traditional VC approach, the spray and pray model,
It's flawed.
where you invest a little bit in a lot of companies hoping one hits, that just guarantees mediocrity because you need that one company that returns 100 times your money, not 5 times.
Which is why Thiel's approach is what you could call the sniper strategy, extreme focus. You only invest in companies you believe have the potential to return the value of the entire fund on their own. You're not hedging. You're hunting for that one single 0-to-1 breakthrough.
I see how that works for a billionaire VC. But what about for me, listening to this, trying to manage my career? I have bills to pay. I can't just bet everything on one crazy idea. Doesn't that make diversification more important for a regular person?
That's the trap. We think our lives are a stock portfolio.
Yeah.
So we hedge. We collect a few skills here, a language certification there, trying to be a little good at a lot of things, just in case. We go into consulting or finance because, hey, it keeps our options open.
It's the ultimate indefinite path.
It is. But the power law applies to careers, too. Owning 100% of a failed restaurant is worth nothing. But owning, say, 0.01% of Google in the early days, that's life-changing. Hedging your bets just ensures you'll always be in fierce competition with other people who have the exact same portfolio of safe conventional skills.
So the real leverage isn't being slightly better in your role, but being in the right company to begin with.
Exactly. Find the rocket ship, then specialize like crazy. And that kind of specialization requires real commitment, which brings us to the last big idea, this loss of planning.
Right. We can't just hope for a 0-to-1 outcome. We need a plan, a blueprint.
Thiel has this 2x2 matrix for how societies view the future. It's basically optimistic versus pessimistic and definite versus indefinite.
So really quick, definite optimism is the future will be better and here's my blueprint to build it. Think the 1950s and 60s in the US, the Apollo program.
Then you have definite pessimism. The future will be bleak, so we need to prepare for it.
Indefinite pessimism. The future will be bleak and we have no idea what to do, just generalized anxiety.
And then there's the fourth one, the one he says we've been stuck in since the 80s. Indefinite optimism. We believe the future will get better somehow, but we have absolutely no specific plan for how. We just kind of expect progress to happen.
And that's the mindset that creates things like financial engineering. If you don't know how to create new wealth, you just spend your time rearranging existing assets. Mergers, acquisitions, complex derivatives.
You're just shuffling the deck chairs instead of building a new ship. The analogy for you, the listener, is this. Are you buying a lottery ticket or are you drawing a blueprint?
Indefinite optimism is the lottery ticket. You spread your money around in index funds because you don't have a specific vision for what will be valuable. You're just hoping the future gets better on its own.
It's a chain of hoping. The founder sells his company, gives the money to a wealth manager who diversifies it into funds. No one has a specific plan. They just trust the process.
Whereas the alternative is definite optimism, the blueprint.
This is the mindset that says we will put a man on the moon in this decade and here are the 1,000 steps to get there. It rejects the idea that the future is random.
And a startup, a real 0 to 1 startup, is maybe the biggest thing an individual can have that kind of definite mastery over. It's a specific plan to make the future better.
But our whole education system pushes us towards hedging, towards consulting, finance, careers that maximize optionality but avoid real, definite commitment. And if you keep all your options open forever, you never actually do anything.
Okay, that's a powerful critique. So if I buy all of this, I need to escape competition, build a monopoly, and have a definite plan. The big question remains, how do I find that 0 to 1 idea in the first place?
You find it by discovering a secret. And Thiel has this famous interview question to test if you found one. He asks everyone he interviews this one thing.
What important truth do very few people agree with you on?
That's the one. And most people give terrible answers. They'll say something everyone already agrees with, like our education system is broken, or they'll state some trivial personal belief.
A good answer has to have that specific structure. Most people believe X is true, but the reality is the opposite of X.
Those are the secrets. Truths about the world that are hard to find but are real and that everyone else is missing because they're trapped in conventional thinking.
Like Tesla. When they started, the conventional wisdom was that clean tech had to be cheap and ugly to appeal to the masses. Everyone was trying to build a better Prius.
That was the one-to-end thinking. The secret Tesla discovered was that clean tech was really a social status phenomenon. It was a fashion statement for rich people who wanted to feel good and look cool.
So their secret was, don't build a cheap car. Build an amazing, expensive, high-performance sports car first.
It was a total 0 to 1 insight. They understood the real market wasn't environmentalists, it was trendsetters. So they started tiny, dominated that niche, and only then did they scale. It gave them the money and the time to avoid fighting Ford and GM from day one.
So the practical takeaway here for anyone listening is, first, stop competing head-to-head.
Yes. Look at what you're doing. Are you trying to get a tiny slice of a massive bloody market? Or can you find a small new market where you can be number one? Start small, dominate, then scale.
And second, if you're building anything, a team or a company, kill internal competition.
Absolutely. At PayPal, he said they made sure every single person had one and only one unique responsibility. If 2 people were doing the same job, one of them had to go. You have to get rid of that internal conflict so everyone can focus on the real enemy.
Yeah.
The outside world that doesn't believe in your idea yet.
So to wrap this all up, we've basically argued that competition is for losers, that it's a destructive force.
It's a distraction.
The only way to build lasting value is to create a monopoly by going from 0 to 1. And that means you have to reject diversification and indefinite optimism.
You have to have a plan, a blueprint. You have to hunt for a secret.
It's funny, Thiel himself applied to be a Supreme Court clerk, you know, one of the most competitive conventional prizes you can get, and he failed. He didn't get it. And he said later that it was the best thing that ever happened to him because winning would have locked him into a lifetime of prestigious but ultimately one-to-N work.
His failure forced him to go find a 0 to 1 path. So here's the final thought for you to chew on. We are trained to confuse what is hard with what is valuable. Winning a fierce competition, getting into the best law school, getting the top consulting job is incredibly hard. But it might not be valuable because you're just doing what everyone else is doing.
You're fighting in a crowded space.
The truly valuable things are often found in the empty spaces where no one else is even looking. So stop trying to win the game everyone else is playing. Look for the secret. Design the blueprint for a new game and go build the thing that only you can build.
If you want to keep upgrading your brain, click the video on the left. We've selected another deep dive just for you. And hit that logo to subscribe to Nonfiction Insights for your daily dose of wisdom. See you in the next video.